Welcome to another episode of Bucket List Coach Web Show. Well, hello. This is Cindy, your host over at Bucket List Coach Web Show Live. Make sure that you follow me on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. And of course, subscribe on YouTube. As a matter of fact, if you subscribe and comment and you share this very video, either on LinkedIn or Facebook, I will give you a 5-night hotel stay. We're talking Greece, Mexico. Let me know where you want to go. I have tons of places that you can go. I'm going to pay for the hotel and you pay for the tax. So a little bit about the show. Bucket List Coach Web Show is a way for me to share what I'm doing, making the most of the dash. So we have the day that we're born and the day that we pass away. What are you doing in between that time? And I have excursion companies, air shows, pilots, anybody who has a bucket list or have marked that off their list. So today is what, the 24th. I haven't looked at my calendar yet. Jukebox Day, Sardines Day, Taiwan Day, and a big plug to Top Gun Restaurant. They're actually going to be on the show on Monday. It's National Aviation History Month, and it's National Military Family Month. Make sure that you go to nationaldaycalendar.com. If you want to order some swag, you get 20% off. Just type in Cindy Lee in caps. So let's check out this video. Woo! Yes, please. Oh my God, look at that. Welcome to the show, Dick. How are you?
I am doing great. How about yourself? It's a great time to talk about flying.
It's always a great time to talk about flying. So tell my audience all about your story.
Okay. I'm Dick Knapinski. I'm Director of Communications with the Experimental Aircraft Association, or EAA. And I've been with EAA almost 30 years now, chasing airplanes for a long time. And of course, most people know us as the producers of EAA AirVenture Oshkosh, the world's largest fly-in. You saw a little bit of that on the video there. Every year in late July, we bring together more than 10,000 airplanes and more than 600,000 people at Whitman Regional Airport in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and have a celebration of flight. Everything from the smallest ultralights to 747s and C5s and everything in between. And it's one of the world's largest air shows. It is the world's largest fly-in convention where people bring their own airplanes to the event, and one of the world's great air shows too. And it's something that we're looking forward to. We've been doing it for almost 70 years now, and looking forward to another great one next July in 2022.
So why do I need to mark this off my aviation bucket list?
Simply put, you'll see a collection of airplanes and people you'll see no place else in the world. Imagine looking around. We've had airplanes. We had the Concorde here 5 times in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, of all places. Last year, as we mentioned, 747 C5s rolling in, C-17s. You'll see a P-38 from World War II flying with an F-16 at the same time during the air show. You'll see, as we had last year, more than 100 World War II airplanes in the air at the same time. Throughout that entire performance. You'll see vintage aircraft. If you like biplanes, you'll do it. If you like technology, some of the cool stuff that's out there, the electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, urban air mobility, flying cars, they've all been here at one time or another. So it is the place where if you are an airplane geek like I am, it's the place to be every summer. All you have to do is say the word Oshkosh to a pilot. They know exactly what you're talking about.
So let's talk of some of the participants. Of course, the Yak 110 will be there.
The Yak 110 will be here. One of the fun airplanes, and you know about this one, Cindy. They took two Yak 55s and melded them together. It has a double cockpit. It's flown by one person, but it has two places for two people to sit. And it's got a jet engine underneath it. So they'll use the jet engine to climb to altitude. And then Jeff Bourdain will do a wonderful job doing flight maneuvers and various aerobatics in it and so forth. So that's one of them. We have had in the past, we've had the Thunderbirds, the Blue Angels here, the Canadian Snowbirds. Last year, we had Air Force Special Operations come in with all of their cool stuff. We have had all of these airplanes come in at one time or another, and some of the world's greatest air show performers are here every single year flying at Oshkosh. And so it really does make it one of the world's best air shows, one of the world's best aviation trade conventions, more than 1,000 forums and seminars, more than 3,000 show planes, everything from antiques to warbirds to home builds to seaplanes to helicopters. They're all here.
Let's talk about helicopters.
Okay. Let's talk about helicopters. We've had everything in here from home-built helicopters and one-person helicopters. One that came last year I really liked was called the Mosquito, electric-powered aircraft. It's something that is on the cutting edge of innovation, all the way up to some of the firefighting aircraft. I remember one that came in that was called Elvis, and it did water drops during the air show. It'd go out to Lake Winnebago, about 5 miles away, pick up water, bring it over the runway, and display how it puts out fires in the western United States as part of its job. So those helicopters are here. The military helicopters, the Chinooks, the Cobras, they're here as well. So if you're a chopper fan, well, they're all here as well.
So what else do you have for my audience?
Oh,
a lot of plane porn, that's for sure.
That's it. You know, if you go through one of my favorite ones, Cindy, had to be back in 2017. In one day, we had a situation where we had the Blue Angels flying here for the show. We had 7 Apollo astronauts here for a reunion at that time. You know, Jim Lovell was here, and a lot of the astronauts were here from Wally Cunningham from Apollo 7. Al Warden was here. They were all here. Stan Lee was here, the guy who invented the Hulk and Spider-Man. He was here. He gave us a superhero for our Young Eagles program named Avior. You can go to avior.org and find out all about that in our Young Eagles program. And meanwhile, we had the Blue Origin rocket booster here, one of the space tourism things. That's Jeff Bezos' little project on the side. So during the Stan Lee presentation, standing in a baseball cap and sunglasses with his family and his in-laws, and nobody knew where he was or who he was Jeff Bezos. He was watching Stan Lee, and he wanted to meet the Apollo astronauts and show them the rocket booster and the capsule before they started their first flight. So that people say, wow, what was that day like? I said, well, it was Friday. You know, and so that's one day here. You'll see people, as I said, we've had Apollo astronauts. We've talked about the future of space. We've had innovations. There's an air mobility vehicle called the Volocopter, which is really unique. It has like a helicopter cockpit, and above it is a halo that has 8 electric motors on it. And it flies, it's electric powered, and it's part of the urban air mobility situation that you might be seeing out there that's coming to the fore. People say we'll have taxis in the sky in the future. And it made its first American flights here. So those are the type of innovations you'll see here. NASA comes here every year. All of the big companies, Cessna has been here. Embraer has been here. Boeing is here every single year. And so all of those things take place over 7 days. And what's fun is it's really aviation's family reunion. Whatever you like in aviation, whatever you like to see fly, whatever you fly, it's here at some time. I tell people, Cindy, if it has flown, is flying, or will fly, it'll show up at Oshkosh at some time. And we have 40,000 people, many of who stay right on the grounds. Many of them fly their airplanes in here, and they'll camp right next to their airplanes. They'll put up the pup tent, and there they'll be for the week. And they'll hang out with their buddies who are airplane geeks as well. and they'll look at stuff, attend the forums, buy new things for their airplane and so forth. So as you said, it's airplane porn of the highest degree because you're right here and can be part of it.
So what are some of the events that you're doing around that whole weekend?
Well, coming up this year, it's going to be the 75th anniversary of the U.S. Air Force coming up in 2022. And, we've been talking to the Air Force, and they've been really great partners with us through the years. As mentioned last year, they brought their special operations group. We've had a salute to bombers. We've had a salute to fighters here through the years. And so you never know what they're going to bring, but they promise us a great turnout in 2022 because they want to put out a big show for their 75th anniversary. When they had their 50th anniversary here back in 1997, I remember we had the SR-71 Blackbird here before it was retired.
Wow.
It did a flyby. We had the B-1, the B-2. B-1 was on the ground. B-2 did a fly-in. The F-117 Stealth went by one day. Those type of things took place. You never know what you're going to see here because it takes place. Other thing we have is we have 9 air shows over 7 days. We have 7 afternoon air shows and then 2 night air shows. And I tell people, if you've never seen a night air show, you've got to take one in. Now, the way I tell it to people is when you were a kid, you had a sparkler and you wrote your name through the air and watched the light trail. Well, imagine doing that with an airplane at night and having the pyrotechnics on the wingtips and watching it as it cruises across the sky, doing the aerobatic maneuvers and leaving that light trail behind it. And it's something positively to see when you see some of those great folks. We mentioned the Yak 110, the Aeroshell aerobatic team is here. We've had some of the great performers, national and world champions of aerobatics here in the past, the formation teams, and things you often don't see. Paragliders here doing team aerobatics at the same time. We've had things. Last year we had the Goodyear blimp here. It's been here a number of times, and it's always fun when you watch, for instance, an F-16 demo or an F-18 demo followed by the Goodyear blimp. It's been fun. One year we had the Airbus A380 here, the world's largest. Yep.
Wow.
And that took about 2 years to plan for because we had engineers here from France, and they were not only measuring how long the runway was, but how thick the runway was, because that plane is so massive, they didn't want to crush the concrete when they landed. Well, it turned out to be okay. And they brought it in here in 2009, just a monster airplane, and it took up about half of Boeing Plaza. And so those type of things were special. Other thing I want to mention to people, starting this past summer, kids 18 and under are free. So it's a great family event. We want kids to be enthused by aviation, inspired by aviation. And here's an opportunity to do that, to bring it, to see everything in the world of flight and get those kids turned on about flying. And they might be your airline pilots, your astronauts, your aircraft mechanics of tomorrow.
I grew up near Travis Air Force Base. So the very first time I seen a C5, I think I was 12. And I was probably the only girl that that gets excited about seeing a big plane overhead. And then years later, in my early 20s, I actually started working Navy Civil Service on a submarine. And then that's kind of my whole Navy tied to it. And then, of course, seeing Top Gun.
Oh, yeah.
So F-14 is literally one of my favorite planes. How about you? What is your favorite plane?
Going back, first of all, for classic aircraft, the P-38, the Lightning from World War II. It is we have one on display in our museum here, and I love going by it and just seeing it and reading about it. Even as a kid, I was just enthralled by the twin tail and the speed of the airplane and so forth. So you take a look at that one. These days there are so many airplanes. It's like trying to figure out which one of your kids you like best. There are days you like ones better than others. There are times you like the speed. You take a look at the jets, the F-16s and the F-22s and the F-35s and go, wow, just feel that power and so forth. And other times you take a look at something like an ultralight or a vintage aircraft, that Piper Cub, that maybe does 60, 70 miles an hour, and you could go low and slow and see the countryside. And here in Wisconsin in the summer and fall, it is absolutely gorgeous. And seeing the green and then the colors of fall and so forth. And so That's something special as well. I like to say whatever airplane's my favorite, it's the one I'm flying at the time. And so if you take a look at that, it's just a plain old Cherokee 140 that I learned to fly in, and something like that can be a marvelous traveling machine. And it's just the idea that, Cindy, 125 years ago, people only dreamed of flight, and now we can do it. We can take this machine and fly it and go places, and that is something that we celebrate at Oshkosh every year for EAA AirVenture, and in all of its forms. And you start talking to people who have built or restored airplanes and get their stories and the things they did to put that airplane together, or the adversity they overcame to get it done. And it's marvelous hearing those stories. And they're so proud of these machines when they bring them to Oshkosh and share them with everybody.
So let's talk about accommodations, because I'm a travel agent, so I'm looking to invite a few of my friends out. What's the best place to stay in the area? Because I know that there's different options on where you can stay.
There are different options. If you're looking for a hotel in Oshkosh, boy, that's tight supply right there, because there are only about 1,000 hotel rooms in the Oshkosh itself. And so those are spoken for pretty quickly. But if you start looking around places such as Appleton and Green Bay to the north, Fond du Lac, West Bend to the south, maybe Ripon, Green Lake, which is a resort area about 25 miles from Oshkosh, you can do very well. But there are a lot of options. We find people who have recreational vehicles and motorhomes, they'll come here and camp. They'll set up for 7 days and camp right here on the grounds and walk onto the flight line every day. So that's certainly an option. Many people rent motorhomes, and then we'll have them set up when they get to Oshkosh and so forth. The universities in the area, including University of Wisconsin Oshkosh, have accommodations. You can rent a dorm room for 7 days. Great way if you're traveling on a budget, want to be a little more economical, you can do that. Just stay at the university, catch the bus every day down to the grounds, and do it that way. It certainly is an option. One other one that I recommend certainly is many people, hundreds of people in Oshkosh rent out their homes during the course of the week. It's very similar to what you might see in Augusta during Masters Week and things like that. And so they'll rent out their homes, and you can get a lakeside home for the entire week for much less than a hotel room. And so, I recommend if you're bringing a group, that might be the best way to go. You can make your own meals. You can, have your own place when you get done at night. It's not a hotel room. It's someplace that feels like home. And certainly those benefits are out there as well. So there are a lot of options for people who want to come to Oshkosh and find a place to stay well beyond just the typical hotel room.
So let's talk about the event again. Do a little recap of what we talked about today.
Sure. EAA, AirVenture Oshkosh. It's the world's greatest aviation celebration. I like to call it Aviation's family reunion, because we're all here. Even the crazy uncle shows up. And so it's all here. It's next year, July 25th through the 31st, Whitman Regional Airport in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And if you don't know where Oshkosh is, ask any pilot, hey, how do I get to Oshkosh? They'll let you know. And sometimes you can even catch a ride with them. And so that's the place to go. If you need to know more, go to eaa.org, click on the AirVenture tab, and find out more about it. We already are selling advance tickets for next year. Save a few bucks on those. And as we start to put together the features and attractions and all the things going on next year, we're going to be announcing them, and we're looking forward to seeing everybody out here once again in Oshkosh and enjoying flight like we all do here.
So when is the full schedule going to be out? Probably February or March?
February or March. We start to build those things, and then we keep on adding. There are times that suddenly in July, we'll get somebody who will say, hey, can I bring my airplane? Or the Air Force or Navy will say, hey, can we bring this airplane in? It's just done. Or somebody said, we just got this restoration done. Can I bring it in? Oh, yeah, we'll find a spot for you. And so, we park them on the airport and park them on Boeing Plaza and everywhere, and see some of the most marvelous pieces of technology, the flying machines that you could ever have in one place. They're all right here in Oshkosh.
So since it's Aviation History Month, a big passion of mine is the Top Gun movie. Mm-hmm. Are you a big fan?
Oh, man. I've only seen it 200 times or so. Yeah, that's probably about it.
What's your favorite line?
Oh, man. The Need for Speed line is always great. Almost anything Goose says I'd like, because, the one where they say, we regret to inform you your sons died because they were stupid, is one that they had at that point. When they're talking about, it's not your airplane, it's the taxpayer's airplane. Some
Oh
of
yeah,
those
I
things
actually
are,
did that at the Midway the other day. It
yeah,
was a mannequin, and I'm pointing at him, talking to him like
yep,
I was the air boss.
exactly. We've tried to sing, you've lost that loving feeling, and we're greatly out of tune whenever we try that. So that doesn't work out too well. But I actually before they tore it down, I actually went to the bar in San Diego
Oh,
that
I was
they
just there
taped those.
Sunday. Yeah.
Yep. And so it was, something that I had on my bucket list, actually, Cindy, and made it out there. Happened to be in San Diego at the time in the 90s, and went out there to see that. So eagerly waiting forward to Top Gun 2, as we all are, for a year or two, or however long it's taking to get that movie out. But we're looking forward to seeing that again. And it's one of those things that whenever we show Top Gun here, by the way, we have every night we have what we call the fly-in theater. We have a 5-story
Oh,
high movie
really? Wow.
screen, and we show aviation movies in the evening. And
Wow.
so you come out, and sometimes, for instance, when we showed Air Force One, Harrison Ford came out, introduced the movie. And so we've done things like that. When we showed Apollo 13, Jim Lovell came out, introduced the movie. And so you never know who you might see out on the grounds that certain day. We've had people,
Wow.
Harrison Ford's been here a number of times. Certainly we've had people like Jim Lovell here, and some of the Apollo astronauts. Morgan Freeman's been here. He's a pilot, and he has been out here to see things here in Oshkosh. John Travolta, who is also another pilot, he's been here.
Yes.
Flew in his Qantas 707 here one year, which was really fun
Wow.
to see. And if you forget how
Pretty cool.
noisy 707s are until you hear it roaring down the runway. So those are some of the things that you happen to run across here that you don't expect. And they're all here for one thing. They love aviation. So next July 25th through the 31st, we hope to see your viewers and yourself, Cindy, out here on the flight line at Oshkosh.
Oh my God. I'm just so grateful to Jeff. If Jeff wouldn't have told me about your organization, I'm surprised I haven't heard about it. I'm a big aviation buff. How did I not hear about Oshkosh?
Well,
But
now
I
you
did,
have.
and I
So
will be
now,
there.
now you're going to be here. And so we're looking forward to it. And all your viewers, we hope will see it too, because it is really a lot of fun. It's something, don't give it just one day. You're going to need to spend more than a day here, because there's just so much to see.
So what days are the best to come? Because some of us are only able to come for like a
Sure.
Sunday, or some of us are coming like a Friday through Monday, and then other may be there for the whole time. What is your best suggestion for those who have a limited schedule?
Yeah, what I'd recommend is pick out a couple of days if you'd like coming. For a lot of the airplane geeks arrive early, and they'll camp out, and they'll start shopping for things and going to forums. That's early in the week, Monday, Tuesday. Wednesday is the first night air show, so that will be on July 27th that evening. So if you want to catch a night air show early in the week, certainly be there on Wednesday. And then toward the weekend is often when we'll get a lot of the big military aircraft in. Last year when the special operations came in on Thursday and through the weekend. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday are really big air show days. A lot of entertainment packed into that. The big Warbird shows from the World War II aircraft are on those days. And so, those are the type of things. So it all depends what you're looking for. When that schedule comes out, take a look at it at eaa.org, study it, see what you like, what will be there, and then pick out the days that work best for you.
So what do you have for the 29th?
The 29th. Oh, let's see. That's going to be weekend. So we're going to have a Warbird extravaganza during the afternoon air show. That's
Happy birthday to me.
okay. Yep. Oh, there you go. Come and see that. We'll certainly have military airplanes out on the ramp because they like coming in during the weekend.
Okay.
If we have one of the jet performance teams coming in, and coming up, the ICAS convention is coming up in early December in Las Vegas, the air show convention, and that's when the announcements come out. And we're always talking with the teams, the performers, and we'll have more of those confirmations coming up in early December. So those will be things that we're looking forward to, and all the people who come to Oshkosh look forward to it as well. So once we get that schedule, then we'll start slotting things in about who's flying when and what time those things will be taking place.
Let's talk membership.
Membership is cheap. $40 a year. You can be an EA member, and it'll save you a lot of money on the flight line. If you're in our area in Wisconsin or the upper Midwest, the membership also gets you into our museum year round for absolutely free. We've got more than 100 airplanes on display here at the museum. Lots of special things, everything from a full-size replica or reproduction of Spaceship One that we have a presentation for, full-size reproduction of the Spirit of St. Louis here. And what we have during the summer is something special. It's called Pioneer Airport. If you've ever had the hankering to fly in an open cockpit biplane during the summer, you can do it. We'll give you the goggles and the leather helmet and put you in the open cockpit biplane and take you for a ride in a 1929 Travel Air that's been beautifully restored. And you'll spend time with the wind in your hair and the bugs in your teeth, and just like they did in the Barnstormer days. And you can do all of that. And that's something special. One of the great interactive museum experiences that you'll have anywhere. You know, it's better than a Disney ride. You get to do the real thing.
So what's the cost of that one? And what's the plane again?
The plane is a 1929 Travel Air biplane. It was used in the very early mail runs. In fact, Travel Air is one of the predecessor companies of Cessna. And so it's from that golden age of aviation. And so those flights cost $75. But if you're an EA member, if you're an EA member, well, you're getting into the museum for free. And EA membership is just $40 a year. You can join up, get the discounts to come into Air Venture in late July, get in free to the museum, get a lot of great, if you liked airplane porn, well, you're going to get a magazine every single month that's got all of the great photos that our photographers take. And so Sport Aviation Magazine has acknowledged that. And if you're one who likes to build and restore airplanes, boy, a lot of tips in that too. So you can really enjoy it. And there are 250,000 of us who are EA members around the world in more than 100 countries. And we just love airplanes. We love everything about them. We like to fly them. We like to hang around them. We like the people who like airplanes and all of it.
So one last question. What is your favorite part about the air show, or any air show?
Any air show, I have to say, for Air Venture in itself, it's got to be the people. You get to meet so many interesting people who are famous, who are not so famous, but boy, they're interesting about their backstories and so forth. Air shows, I've really grown to love the heritage flights. And for your viewers who may not be familiar, it's when the Air Force or the Navy pairs one of their modern military fighters with aircraft from the Korean War era or World War II. So you might see P-51 Mustangs flying with an F-16 or a P-38 with an F-22 doing flybys. And if that just doesn't shake you emotionally to see those beautiful aircraft going by with some of the modern military aircraft, well, you ain't alive then, because it's something special to see. And it's something I always enjoy. I spend a lot of time running around taking care of things during Oshkosh week. But when the heritage flight comes on, I make sure I edge toward the flight line and get a look at it.
Wow. Well, I want to say my favorite is the sneak pass. And of course, meeting others who are aviation buffs, but the sneak pass. And well, here in Huntington Beach, it flies over the Huntington Beach Pier.
Okay.
We don't really get to hang out with the pilots or anything like that. But I always say, I know it's going to come from the backside.
Yep.
Oh, no, I know it's going to come from the front. So this year I said, I know it's going to come from this side. Came the other side.
Oh, man. And those are fun.
That's the most amazing part of theirs.
It is. The sneak peek. One of my favorite ones we did, and I believed it was in 2018, if I remember correctly, that we had the first day's air show. The Blue Angels were flying from, I think, Michigan to Fargo. They were transitioning to their next air show. They weren't going to fly at Oshkosh that year. But our air show boss told about 6 people, here's what we're going to do. They're going to come over low pass from behind on the last note of the national anthem. And it worked. It's one of those amazing times, and we like to say only at Oshkosh moments, that and the home of the brave and that last note being held, and suddenly from behind, here come the F-18s of the Blue Angels right over the air show crowd, and then they do a couple of passes to say hi, and then they're on their way to Fargo. And if you ever want to see people jump out of their sneakers at that point, that was something. And there were a few people who turned, and you can find it on YouTube if you look around for this sneak pass at Oshkosh, because there are a couple people who say, is that what I think that is coming from the backside? and then you hear a lot of holy and bleep at that point. And then they pass right overhead. So yeah, those kind of things are just fun to do. And we always tell people, you never know what's going to show up at Oshkosh. So you want to be here, because if you're not here, your friends are going to tell you about it. And they say, boy, you should have been there.
Well, look at what my favorite saying is. You see beneath us, the comment?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's it too. I always tell people say, boy, how does an airplane that big fly? I said, boy, you put a big enough engine on something, you can make a barn fly. That's easy enough. What you want to do is make it land so you can use it again.
Exactly. So are you going to have that semi at the show next year?
Shockwave and some of the others? It might be. Yeah,
Wow.
We've had that in the past. We've had the the jet engine school bus here. We've had those type of things, and the jet engine outhouse is probably my favorite that we've had here one year.
What is that?
Well, it's just as I said it was. It's an outhouse kind of with a jet engine on it. It's been modified, but the fastest moving outhouse known to man is what it is, and it's. So it was there. And but again, after the ICAST convention, we'll start to set up the air show and what we're going to have and what will go together on what days and what makes a great flow through those 2.5, 3 hours of the afternoon air show that we have. And then we tuck in new technology and things like that. So you're going to see a little bit of everything during an Oshkosh air show.
Oh, awesome. Oh my God. So now is the fun part. This is shout out. So first off, let's shout out to Jeff with the Yak 110.
Oh my God. Yes. Thank you, Jeff. Made it all happen.
Yeah. And he made the connection here. So he told me about your show. So tell me anybody else that you wanted to shout out, any kind of people that you work with there at the show, or who would you like to shout out?
Well, a few people I want to shout out. First of all, our more than 5,000 volunteers that work here, that make it happen. We have people who organize and run things. They are volunteers. They will take vacations from their jobs to come out and stand out and eat dust and park airplanes for the entire week. And they love it. We love having them, and they make the show happen. That's number one. I got to give a shout out to the guy who puts the air show together. My friend Dennis Dunbar. He works air shows throughout the entire country. Great guy. A lot of people in the air show community certainly know him. Matter of fact, he's the board president of ICAST this year too. He said, I didn't show up for a meeting and suddenly I was president. So it's I said, that'll teach you right there. So got to do that. To all the air show performers that are part of it, all the folks in our military that bring airplanes here. One of my favorite stories, and I won't keep you for very long on this one. We had a F-15 pilot about 15 years ago. He was an Oshkosh kid, grew up coming to the show. And he came in and had a chance to bring his F-15 to the show. Wow. And so he came in with 3 buddies, and this was about 10:30 in the morning, and they did 2 passes, the 4 of them, 4-ship pass each time. Last pass, the other 3 broke off. They allowed him to do the last pass on his own and then land. And we brought him into Boeing Plaza, and we didn't tell him this part. We put his mom from Oshkosh in the orange vest and gave her the paddles to bring him in the last 200 yards on the taxiway. So it was, he saw that, and it's one of those things like, Mom, just then. So one of those great moments that we had an opportunity to put together. Wow. So that, that one kind of gave you goosebumps. I told the media, I can't tell you what it's going to be, but you're going to want to be out on the ramp about 10:30 when this happens. So it's, so that was fun. Those type of things that happen. And so we like to put those kind of things together and do things like that. So that's a shout out to all the people that bring airplanes here, all the people who work so hard to organize this show, because it's a labor of love, but it's labor nevertheless. There's a lot that goes into it. There's a million moving pieces, and I tell everybody, you cannot knock over just one domino here at Oshkosh. If you change something, it's going to change a whole bunch of other things as well. So, all of those people that make it happen, from the air bosses and the convention chairman, all the way down to the people who pick up the trash and clean the porta potties, they do a great job.
Wow. Awesome. Anything else you want to add for 1 minute?
Okay. If you've never been to Oshkosh, you've got to come here. It's the home of the Experimental Aircraft Association. We are the organization of people who just love to fly in all of its forms, recreationally, for fun, for profession, whatever it is. We're airplane geeks all the way around. And so mostly we're known for EA AirVenture Oshkosh, the annual celebration of flight coming up in 2022. It's July 25th through the 31st, but there's so much more. EAA with 250,000 members worldwide. We have a world-class aviation museum right here in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. We'd love to see you come on out here. And so make it a point of it. If you're an airplane geek, like I am, it's the place to be. It's where you want to be, whether it's year-round at the museum or during AirVenture in July. Come join your fellow airplane geeks and be a part of it. And we'd love to see you here at EAA.
And a shout out to your website and your Facebook page.
And if you'd want to learn more about EAA, it's EAA.org. If you want to check us out on Facebook, very simple. Facebook.com/EAA. It'll take you right to all the great photos, videos, updates that you ever want to know about recreational aviation.
Well, there you go. I'm going to pop you in the green room and hang tight for 1 minute and we'll chat for a few.
Sounds good. All right.
Well, there you go. If you have not been to Oshkosh, definitely mark it off your list for 2022, especially if it's your birthday weekend. We'll have to celebrate our love for aviation. Next on the show at 3 p.m. PST, I have my friend Michael with Top Gun fans. We have over 18,000 fans for those lovers of Top Gun, the movie. Shaka baby, I'll see you at 3 o'clock.